Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode on the HighLevel Experience Podcast. Our guest today is a titan in the agency world, a mastermind behind managing a staggering 9 figures in ad spend for his clients, and a mentor who has guided thousands of agencies towards monumental success. Alongside his business partner, he has harnessed the power of HighLevel to not only elevate his own business, but also empower his students to thrive in the competitive landscape of digital marketing and using HighLevel. Please welcome to the show, Cody Getchell.
Nice intro. I like it. How's it going, guys?
Thanks, Cody. Great to have you here, mate. Listen, mate, I was just looking at your LinkedIn before this, preparing my questions, and I see that you've done a lot of things. Your career began with marketing and bookkeeping and car business. How did those early experiences shape your approach to, what you guys do today, like how you scale it and whatnot?
Yeah. So, my life kind of is all behind me a little bit. We got the university degree and then some time spent on a software we shall not name, and then a giant sign behind me for a new company. Right. So, I was always kind of a person that knew what I wanted to do, which was own a business. And it seemed after school that the first thing you should do is probably go to business school for that. I immediately think that was probably a bad idea now, but hey, I get a nice shiny red piece of paper to go behind me. So that's something. Right. But while I was there, I put myself through university by purchasing and selling cars from a car auction that was local to me. I'm from New Brunswick, Fredericton, so we used to buy and flip cars from there. I did that up until the point where I owned a detailing bay and a used car lot and all that stuff. And then when I graduated, I sold that off, moved all the way across the country to Vancouver, and used that money to start a digital marketing agency about 13 years ago now. More than that, we'll say 13 years ago-ish at that point. And then I started doing what I've been doing for now. And then about years later, I met Rahul. We merged our agencies and then started the GSD because we couldn't find anybody else that was teaching the right way, or at least what we thought was the right way. So it's always been an evolution, right? Go through learning the business, the ways of doing business, put yourself through school, decide you don't want to work for other people, as most entrepreneurs do, and then just use this tools that you've learned along the way to kind of make it better.
Yeah, man, what a journey. And you got there just at the beginning. So, my journey into digital marketing and all that has only been the sort of last 5 years, like fully intense. But before that, I was running my fitness business. So nevertheless, still did my marketing, but I just for my own business. But you got there 5 years ago. That would have been like a really good time of the ads and everything. That was kind of like the golden era of Facebook ads, wasn't it?
Ads were cheap, really cheap, especially for a few years there. But the one thing I tell people now is, everybody's so worried now about the competition and how everybody's been burned by agencies and they've done all this stuff before. Whereas before, when I was doing it, when I first started out, it was about first convincing people that they even needed to be on Facebook in the first place, that they needed to have pages, that it was a good place for them to put their business, and then helping them realize the ROI of it and how easy it was. And, you never know how easy, you never knew how easy PPC was in 2004. You never know how easy Facebook ads were in 2013 to 2016 until you're 10 years later and you realize, wow, I wish I could have those prices back. But nowadays, people are so conflicted in the fact that, most businesses now know they need this stuff. They've just been burnt. And so a lot of agencies will try to back away from that, right? They'll try to say that, okay, well, it's a red ocean. Where's all the blue oceans? Well, there is no blue oceans really anymore. But what you do get is a person, a prospect, a potential sale that already knows they need what you're offering. And even better, there's already a villain to their story. And what do people usually buy off of? It's emotion. Well, what better to create emotion than being able to have a built-in contrast point to who you are? You can easily position yourself now as the hero as long as you actually know what you're doing, actually want to help people. They already want that. And you can be able to use that for your advantage. So, it was a lot different back then. Easier in some ways, more difficult in others. But, I still think it translates well to today as well.
Right. So let's stay on this topic because if I think this is really good. What you said is educating your market is always tough, right? You have to spend so much resources in your marketing to educate market. So as you said, so you're dealing with a market that already is educated. They've been burned. Are there any a really good intro offers that you find that work for those type of businesses that have been burned, for the agencies that do want to, get them on for
we teach people a lot of things, but one of the primary ways for newer agencies that we're talking about right now is ones that are just getting established and kind of that kind of stuff. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
So we teach a lot of newer agencies because we run through our program, which, gets shit done behind me, is we run into a lot of people who are either starting out, have the first few clients, all that stuff. So we had to develop a strategy specifically for them, right? And the major pain points of most people that are coming in nowadays, like I said, it's not educating them on why they need to be on social media and they need that digital marketing. It's more educating them on why should I know, like, and trust you, right? Everybody says a lot of the same crap. So how do I get to know you? And there's two ways that we help people do that. One is through a scary offer process, right? And that's basically something that we use to teach people to how to leverage customer language, leverage specificity, leverage reverse pain statements, basically trying to tell somebody, I'm going to help you achieve the thing you actually want to achieve while doing less of the things you don't want to do on the way there, right? So basic stuff there. But then the next part of that is, okay, well, even if I believe you, I don't know, like, or potentially trust you enough to actually pay you money yet for that. And that's where we came up with something called the rookie contract method. So the rookie contract method, I don't know what the similarity would be in Australia, but over in North America, we have NHL and NFL. And when players come into those leagues, they usually get paid rookie contracts for a year or a couple of years. And then if they ball out, they lead their team in goals, they lead their team in catches, all this kind of stuff. They then get paid. If they hit their KPIs, if they hit their performance expectations, they then get to earn those big dollars, that big contract that they wanted. And so we turned that into something that newer agencies could use. So they call it a show me contract or a rookie contract. And basically it's, if I'm going to charge you $1,500 a month for this marketing service, what I'm going to do now after a pushback is say something along the lines of, okay, well, Mr. Prospect, I understand, why you're hesitating here. And so I have a specific type of thing that I do for people when I know we're going to be able to help them. And what we do is called a show me contract. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, right? I'm going to do what the other people, the villains of your story, probably weren't willing to do before. I'm going to reduce my fee for the first 30 days to 60 days. And if I hit KPI 1, 2, 3, then we begin our real relationship for a 3-month period or more after that point automatically. But if I don't, and I can't put up the way I said I could, then we go our separate ways. That's how confident I am that I'm going to be able to do the things I said I'm going to be able to do, but also how understanding I am about your hesitation, Mr. Client, to actually allow me to do it. And so what it is you just say, I'm covering my cost, my overhead, my salaries, my software costs. Instead of $1,500, it's going to be $500 or $750 for the first 30 to 60 days, proving that I can hit KPIs and then moving on. And so by having those differentiating offers and then by having that type of a sales methodology that allows you to move past certain things and certain objectives, you'll be able to close a lot more deals, as most of the people inside of our coaching programs and all that stuff are able to leverage these to get over the first couple of client hump, right? To get up to that 5, 10 client mark where you start to feel a little bit more comfortable with that.
That's great. I like that. Would you also say, like, would you also stack this offer with a money back guarantee as well?
No, hell no. Money back guarantees, absolutely not. But what we will say is, there's 3 types of guarantees, right? Guarantee 1 is money back. Guarantee 2 is work for free. And guarantee 3 is what you call a general guarantee, where you can just slap your stipulations and all of the ways that you have to do all that stuff. That's just the way that all these kind of things work. Now, normally, I'm not putting any kind of money back guarantee on anything unless you absolutely need to. Work for free guarantees, sometimes we'll do that. In agencies, sometimes we'll say to agencies they want to do that. But most of the time, the people who are attracted by the money back guarantees are the ones that are going to look for the absolute first time to do it. A lot of businesses that can be pulled over the line for that don't need the money back guarantee. They need to know, like, and trust you. And that's where the rookie contract can help you get over that line without needing to have the risk of those money back guarantees. I've seen agencies get to $300,000 months and have those types of things in there and attract those types of clients. And then after having 3 or 4 of them, they actually end up in the hole by $500,000 because of how much crap that happened. Because you're not taking into account all the expenses, all the work, all the overhead that goes to being able to support that. So I'd stay away from that, but those are the other options.
Yeah, right. And especially when it comes to services, there's also, like, the obligation on the client to provide you, the resources for you to do the job. So if they're not doing that, and that's going to impact your performance, right? So that needs to be tied into some sort of terms.
As marketers, we get to the line of sales and then they have to take it over from there, right? Or you try to pull it. I mean, a lot of what we teach people now is don't just drop it there. Put in as many resources like voice AI systems and other things that we can actually get it more and more qualified to the point where I just want the client to be an order taker at that point, right? But there is always going to be an element of how does that business on the other side run? Can they even close the leads or the calls that we're giving them? Can they even fulfill on the stuff that we're doing for them, right? There's always risk involved on that end. And if you have outlets like that, right, the same as like pay per performance type things that realtors will do all the time, where they're like, yeah, why don't we just pay you after I get my commission and we'll all make a lot of money? One, half the time that's illegal. And two, no, you're completely relying on an honor system at that point. And what I've seen happen when people do that is they'll say, oh, well, that person was in my networking. Yes, they came in from your ads, but I knew them anyway from way back. I talked to them 5 years ago, or they were in my database from a long time ago, so I'm not going to count that. You end up in those situations that then they'll always look for that first problem there to be able to do it if you allow it. And so it's better just to avoid it altogether.
Yeah, right. Plus, if you ever plan to build a business that's going to be scalable, those type of methods are never going to be working in your favor. What about guarantees? Just on the topic of guarantees, what's your point on like giving like 7-day free trials and things like that when it comes to SaaS businesses?
So, well, we own a SaaS business, right? The voice AI business that we have recently. We were playing around with the idea of free trials, but what we ended up doing was a very low cost, very reduced feature trial instead. And what we found is that allows us to run what's called like SLO funnels, self-liquidating offer funnels, still get people in at a low enough, but allowing them to take that first kind of intimate step with us, which is always, putting the credit card through, spending the first dollar, actually making a purchase so that our marketing and our sales team and stuff can upgrade and do its job at that point. So, I mean, especially in the SaaS world, there is a lot of use for the free trials, but I've found trying to find a way to do that low ticket thing has been a lot more effective for us. And if you look at, heavily controversial, I'm sure people are going to complain about this and make comments about it, but look at Pipeline, the people inside of HighLevel that have been doing this for years, you'll see a post pop up about these people every, I don't know, it used to be every month. It used to be every couple of weeks at one point. I can't keep up with it, but they do the whole $29 or $39 lifetime deal. And they've been doing it before the $97 a month terms of service thing all happened. But what they do with that is now they can liquidate their ad spend, right? And I can't remember who it was that said this, the famous quote, but the person who can spend more for the client usually win, right? And so if I'm liquidating my ad spend, I'm able to spend more, way more on the customer than you are. And at the end of the day, a lot of these platforms are auctions. We want to have the best offer, the best audience, all that stuff, but we also just want to be in front of them more than the next person. And if you're liquidating some of that, and what they've always done that people seem to miss is that they're stripping it down to basically nothing. You're getting the base level CRM and all that kind of stuff with it. And all the rest of it, you have to pay normal prices for. You want to add those features on, you got to pay for it. And that allows them to basically pay, say if you're paying $20 a lead, well, now they can pay $50 a lead because they're liquidating 30 to 40 of that. And they're still going to be the exact same amount down as you, but now they can spend almost 3 times as much of you to get that person. And not only that, they're not just a lead. Now we've got their credit card. We've got them in the system. They're a multiple of better person to have in your CRM than what you'll be getting from just lead gen. And so stuff like that, we have found that approach is working really well for our other stuff, as well as all of the GHL SaaS stuff that we've done in the past.
Lifetime deal for like a really stripped back, maybe just like a pipeline and a CRM.
Yeah, some type of monetization or just a really low cost trial, but again, with stripped back features so that they'll want to upgrade. Right? Everything that we teach about offers is a flywheel. Don't just have one offer and then leave the rest of your audience to do whatever. Have it so that you have a place for people to evaluate you. And usually we do stuff like YouTube channels and Facebook groups, actually GHL communities now we use. All of that stuff is where if they don't want to spend money with you yet, but eventually they're going to want that type of thing, evaluators have a place for them to begin with you. That's your low cost trial, your low cost lifetime deal, your stripped down thing where they want the thing, but they don't yet have the money to afford it, or they don't want to spend too much on it. And so you downsell them into that.
Or they don't trust you yet to go fully commit. Yeah. Right.
Exactly. Right. They just want to dip their toes in the water, but they don't want to swim yet. But as soon as they get acclimated to the water, they'll probably want to swim after and buy your higher ticket stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the lifetime deal makes a lot of sense. The only thing with that, I've never been able to find much more info aside from what the official, like the legal statement of HighLevel that you cannot sell an account for less than 97. How do you go with that? How do you work around that?
So the thing, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, because again, we're grandfathered in. So the people who were in before that kind of stuff and whatever you're promoting, they don't really apply to what you're doing. But the concept there is you have to be, if you're advertising it, it has to be $99, I think, a month or something like that. Right. And that's for a certain package of the thing. So you can play around with that to have lower ticket intro offers. You just can't sell, and don't quote me on this because again, I've not combed through the legal, but my concept of this is that you can't sell the whole thing for under $99 a month, but you can sell stripped down limited versions of it like that to be able to do
as a lifetime.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, we'd have
Honestly,
to check.
I know people do, but they could all just be grandfathered in the way that we are for certain things.
Absolutely. And look, I'm asking these questions because I bet you that anybody that's listening right now, they have those same questions. So I'm kind of getting ahead. So yeah, guys, if you're listening, I mean, the best place would be to check, high-level terms and conditions, maybe reach out to that team. And I mean, I'm certainly interested in that because I don't have that type of offer. And I know there are SaaS agencies. I was just looking it up the other day, not the gold, not the diamond, the platinum. No, the diamond is the top, right? The diamond is 1,000 sub accounts. The diamond SaaSpreneur award winner. So I was just looking at the list of those, checking out their websites because I'm doing some updates on mine and looking at, and yeah, so there's a couple of them that do have this type of deal. So
again, there's a letter to the law there, and then there's grandfathered in people from before.
Yeah.
It's possible that people that are at that level probably are grandfathered in.
Probably grandfather, yes. Important
caveat.
Our
system was also, we were in like the basement of the first like cohort of people that bought before they were even anything. So, we're grandfathered into all that stuff. But yeah, I would take a deeper look at it. But there's the rules behind it, and then there's the things that you can do, right? I know the $99 per full access thing, you can't advertise below that. That's the only thing I know for sure.
Yeah. I want to talk about a little bit more, stay on like talking about your agencies. I know we'll kind of segue straight into GST. Before we get to that, on a bit of a backstory. Before you obviously launched GST, you had Custom Creatives, and it's been operating since 2004.
Yep, that's correct.
Can you share the story behind like its founding and how you've managed to sustain growth of these?
Yeah, so I came around later on, but Rahul founded it way back in 2004. I mean, shit, I would have still been in high school in 2004. Founded it back in 2004 after he quit from Realtor.com. And then he got them as a client by going into their boardroom and doing a whole bunch of shit. And then he grew that all the way up to, I think it was like $300,000-400,000 a month off of like a $200 product. And he had an office full of like 30 plus people, all that kind of stuff. After they moved on from Realtor.com, a number of years later, then I came along and we did a bunch of projects together, and mostly again in the real estate niche. So we ended up launching Real Estate Rainmakers as a department in Custom Creatives. And that went really, really well. And so we ended up merging. Before that, I had Calculated Marketing Services up here in Vancouver. We merged both of those together and then just had the real estate department, the personal injury department, and online coaches department was the focus. We had other departments and niches as well, but that was the core focus. And then we kind of progressed from there into the coaching space after that as well. But we still have the Custom Creatives agency going full strength today.
That's awesome. And the services that you guys offer with Custom Creatives is like traditional marketing agency services in addition to HighLevel, or?
Yeah, so primarily Facebook, YouTube, and PPC advertising. Mm-hmm. We do have some SEO work that we do. And then on top of that, we also co-own the GHL Mastery brand with some of our students. And that's a full-fledged GHL development team that we have. It's about 20, 25 plus people that do custom builds for that, website development, custom automations, AI implementation, and that. So oftentimes our agency clients will also leverage that or do custom builds and do that kind of stuff along with it.
Very cool. And do you also sell like just traditional SaaS, like just subscriptions as well to businesses through Custom Creatives?
So the Real Estate Rainmaker department specifically, we had that SaaS go up over 7 figures, and that one was specifically threefold. We were selling it as a standalone product, but a lot of the success and users and stuff came from using it more like a SaaS, right? Service with a SaaS. And so it came with the done for you aspects of it. And then as a cancellation offer afterwards was very, very successful still to this day, where it's, okay, we've done all this work, but we're pausing or we need to move, how clients do. And so what we ended up doing with that was saying, okay, cool. You're paying us, anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 for the real estate stuff at the time when we were really heavily doing that part. And it would be, okay, well, for $200 a month, you can keep access to all of this because all their data's in there, their funnels in there, their websites in there, the automations, some of the AI stuff, right? So if you want to keep all of that without getting, locked out of that or paused out of that, it's $200 a month. And then when you want to come back on to do all the rest of it, we can have that conversation at that point. And so we're able to get lots of users that way, along with just actually generating the users for it straight up and then having them from our active client base as well.
Right, that's really cool. Yeah, so you got end to end, both ends covered here. That's really good.
Again, mostly locked into the flywheel, right? Again, for this, the flywheel was YouTube channel, Facebook group, and then having a SaaS only product that's a downsell cancellation offer, and then the full-fledged done for you stuff after that. It all flows in and out of one another that way.
Very, very clever. Now, managing a business and sort of in partnership with somebody can be tricky. Can we talk a bit about like team dynamics and partnerships?
Of course.
So running an agency with a partner requires synergy, right? How do you and Rahul divide responsibilities, and what strategies do you employ to ensure effective collaboration and decision-making?
So when we first started, it was primarily that we wanted him to run the sales department and me to be ops and marketing and all that kind of stuff. But over the years, it's grown to be, we're just kind of have our own people under that. We now have managers and project managers and media buyers and stuff on that running those individual pieces. And we're both good at sales. We're good at marketing. I mean, we've both been doing this now for me 13, 14 years, him 20, right? So we kind of cross all over the place. But the key part in the beginning is to grow because you both have individual strengths and to lean into those individual strengths. And we did that quite well. The second part after that, though, is, you got to think of a partnership in business, especially like a relationship. I talk to him more than I talk to my wife, right? Because of the shit that we got going on. And I live with her. She's out there right now. Right. But because we have now 3 different companies, actually 4 different companies that we're running together, it's a lot of communication. And so you have to learn to understand each other, how to communicate and how not to mess that up, because it really comes down to a lot of that, especially because, he's down in LA, I'm up at Vancouver. We go back and forth a lot, but there's going to be how to speak to one another remotely, how to run teams that way, how to make sure that each other has the feedback loops they need to be successful in these kind of things. There's a lot of dynamics with it that really just come down to communication.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Back to you customers though. I mean, I know you've got, and it's a question I wanted to ask just before this one, so you've got a really good sort of end-to-end offer, downsells, upsells and whatnot, but that's really good if somebody wants to cancel and whatnot, but when it comes to keeping them on the current plan, that comes to retention. What approaches do you guys have to ensure high client satisfaction and retention?
Yeah, so I've always been a big believer in CSNs, customer success managers, project managers, that kind of stuff, and having high touch points, right? What I see a lot of these when they're coming into our program and when they're coming through our partner program and all this stuff do is, they'll just have an onboarding call with them and then they'll be running the stuff and then they'll maybe somehow talk to their clients once every month and then be confused why they're getting canceled on after 30, 60 days. And, you got to try and put yourself in the client's shoes. Is that, okay, cool. If everything's working perfectly, then the client will be happy in that situation. But if anything goes wrong, if there's any sort of confusion, if the first batch of leads that came through that you as a media buyer are staring at the screen and saying, well, the stats say the lead cost is good and there's a number of calls being booked and there's things being moved along, you're going to pat yourself on the back, say great work, and you're going to not pay any attention to it. Whereas on the other side, maybe the client has had a few of those calls. Yes, there's leads coming in. Yes, there's calls coming in, but all of the calls to them are all crap. And you didn't do a good enough job setting expectations about how this is going to take some time to refine, generate volume before quality, go through a phase of testing and then quality control and then uptick. They don't know any of that. Maybe you have a whole fleshed out plan, but your expectations of communication is off. And now all of a sudden they cancel. Most of the time, and there's a reason that most newer marketers, they keep clients, 30 to 60 days is honestly the average when you look at newer, not established marketing agencies. And that's almost 90% of the time is because they're not communicating. There's no feedback loops and they're trying to build this infinitely scalable 4-hour work week bullshit, frankly, excuse my French, revolving around some concept of a life they want with that they haven't actually earned yet. And so one of the first things that I do usually when we get in is I'm telling them, look, let's treat this as a supply demand economic. Okay. As the supply of your time goes down and the demand on your time goes up and you have more and more clients and social proof and you can hire and you can afford things, we start worrying about how do we work less and how do we create our dream life. Until then, we kind of have to earn that. And if you want to keep your clients, you need to set expectations up front and then you need to over communicate. You should have a meeting on the calendar every week, or if you don't, do it every other week and send a Loom video update every Friday with the rest of the information. Because it's true that confused buyers don't buy, but what they don't say often enough after that cliche is that confused clients will cancel, because confusion leads to frustration, leads to being like, well, I'm just wasting money. Because to them, if there's not communication and they're not bought into the journey and where they're at in that journey, then there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's only money in, zero money out. So I'm an expense. I'm not an investment. I have no ROI. I'm an expense without explanation, and you can't be confused for why your clients will leave you at that point.
Yeah. Obviously, you can't apply that same principle for customers that are purely SaaS, right? Because the dollar value wouldn't make sense to give them a 1 hour call every week, right? So that would be a different strategy, I
Yeah, for
suppose.
SaaS, what we have found really, really effectively is having a group communication method. So instead of having one-on-one individual attention like you do for high ticket agency clients, you have a community for all of your SaaS agencies. You do one call a week where it's a group Q&A call. And
Yeah.
at the beginning of each call, you do a brief training on how a bunch of your clients are using this SaaS to absolutely kick ass. And then you do the last half of it as a Q&A for people that have their most pressing issues to be able to solve that. And
Yeah.
then once that starts to grow out of control, you implement a ticketing system for support and hire some affordable VAs to do it. You still want to have, and there's too many affiliates out there that are preaching that this is the business model you don't have to do any work for, that low ticket clients like this will never churn. I'll tell you right now, guys, look at me in the face. That's bullshit. They're lying to you to get you to buy some shit that you probably aren't going to know how to use if you believe that stuff. It's not going to work out that way. You still need to support them. You still need to build value into it. It's not a get rich quick scheme that you never have to do any work for. It's just another methodology for you to build your dream life.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. It's a it's a toolbox. It's a big toolbox. There's a lot of tools, and if you don't properly educate with your customers and that sort of stuff, they will be confused. They will not utilize, and they will leave. Right.
Yeah, and let's focus on that for just a second, because like you just said, it's a big toolbox with a lot of tools. Well, the other reason 90% of people leveraging GHL fail is because they're trying to give all of those tools to everybody. That creates confused buyers and it creates confused clients. The other way to succeed at volume with support, but also really, really with sales and offers, is to find what is the one or two features that your end client actually want. This isn't meant to actually replace every single thing that they've ever bought in their whole life. Because every time you do a demo with 10 slides and 10 different features, that's 10 different places where they're going to have questions. That's 10 different places you have to explain with perfect clarity in order to get a sale. And 10 different places where suddenly your service turns into a McDonald's menu. And they say, well, if for the whole thing it's $100, what if I just want the fries and the burger, but no shake? How much does that cost? And now you're becoming an issue, right? Simplify it, and you'll find that not only does it sell better, but the support becomes way easier because you're only supporting a couple of features that allow them to make it happen.
And that brings us back to what we said at the beginning: is having an intro plan that is stripped down, and then you can upsell them to the full enchilada out of everything.
Exactly.
I mean, like once you've indoctrinated them, once they use it on those couple of features, they're bought in. They know the power of it. So if you then release everything to them afterwards, it would be different than if you did it right at the beginning.
Exactly. Right. The overwhelm creates confused buyers, right? It's not, they're not going to buy anything. And the few that you do get across the line are going to be huge headaches for support.
Yeah.
So 100%.
Talk about HighLevel. So you guys utilize HighLevel, obviously, for what you guys do, and you also coach other agencies. But yourself as a user of HighLevel, like how has the platform impacted like the operation for your agency, like in areas like client communication, campaign management, or automation?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest, most obvious thing is before HighLevel, we used Confusionsoft. We used all of the different things like Active Campaign, all of the different CRMs, all of the different things like ManyChat, the automation tools, 15 different things, thousands of dollars a month in different things, all trying to do what it is that HighLevel does. There's complaints, sometimes that each individual feature might not be perfect, but I think that the strength in it has always come down to the fact that it is all there for you. And there has never been, I think people who are just starting an agency now or within the last 5 years, and I don't think they really realize just how much of a pain in the ass it was to do all of this stuff before they came along. And so
Yeah.
it's oftentimes we need to take a deep breath. Is each individual part of it perfect? No. Could some of them be better? Yes. But is it all in one place that all has basically an internal Zapier doing a lot of that talking and automations and connection points for you? Yes. And I think that has literally changed the game because it allows you to create results and ROI for your clients easier by implementing emails and text messages and phone calls and now AI into things that used to cost a lot of money. Like we
Yeah.
used to have to hire entire call centers worth of people down in Mexico to get real estate clients, the results that you can do now with built-in AI features that come with these types of things. And so not only does it save a lot of money in overhead and now in training overhead, but it also, again, does the most important thing, which is ROI for your clients. Easy, visible, repeatable ROI. The other part of this is that it's completely changed the game in the sense that it allows everybody to create a very simple productized offer, right? Like one of the bigger pain points that smaller agencies or newer people have is they become a yes man to every individual person that asks, hey, can you do PPC? Can you do this? Can you work in this industry? Can you do that? And they get to 5 to 10 clients and then they can't grow. They can't they're frozen. They can't make more money because they're constantly making custom work. What you need to do to be able to scale is have a productized offer, a repeatable thing that works for this client and that client and the next one. And then when you repair it or improve it, it improves it across the whole line. And HighLevel allowed that to really, really, really get locked in with the snapshot. Every time I create a better funnel for one of my clients, if I'm creating it for the same industry, same people, then I now have a better funnel that is instantly deployable for all of my clients. That kind of stuff, not only for the ROI for the clients on the other side, but this stuff with the snapshots and the productized thing allows you to be infinitely more scalable. The amount of overhead reduction in people, outside agencies, outside softwares, outside stuff that you no longer need to have, the amount that you could really be a one-person agency and scale to a ridiculous income that you just could not have done before, it's really game-changing.
Definitely. And also on the topic of some of the features being, maybe less developed or not comparable to some of the, a single focus type of software platforms. If you guys are new to HighLevel, one thing you'll very, very, very soon to realize is, and that's my personal opinion, is I don't know any other company that innovates, updates their features at such a rapid scale. Like you get Sean coming at you every week. You got weekly videos now with those two guys. Forget the name. Yeah. They tell you the summary, right? So you could I used to call it my daily a morning coffee thing where I just jump in a community and look up all the Sean coming at you little releases, right? But now as I'm busier, I just watch the weekly summary that the guys do, and there's just 10, sometimes even more new, and sometimes it's new features altogether, or just a little enhancements, little updates. But it's happening every day, every week. I don't know if any other company does it at such a scale.
No, I'm safe saying no, they don't. I've been in a lot of their communities. I don't think anything's even come close.
Yeah, and so what that means for you guys listening is if you're not using HighLevel, or if you're comparing it to, know this is if it doesn't have it now, it will have it in the future. It's just a matter of time. And while it doesn't have it now, it's good enough, as opposed to the whole old Frankenstein model with zapping things together, duct taping things together. And that's always going to be the upper hand.
Gives me war flashbacks just hearing you say it.
Absolutely. All right, mate. Challenges and lesson learned. Every agency faces hurdles. Can you share a significant challenge that you guys have encountered at Custom Creatives and how you overcome it, providing some lessons that other agencies might benefit from?
Well, let's talk about a few. One is, having a lot of your eggs in one basket and getting comfortable, right? When Realtor.com canceled, that was a lot of money and crippled the agency, and we had to rebuild from there. Right. It's one of those things that you get reliant on. There's an old rule where if 80% of your revenue is coming from one client, you are not in good shape, guest.
Sorry for being stupid, but I don't know, what's Realtor.com? Was it a directory of listings or whatever?
So Realtor.com is just one of the bigger realty advertising platforms in the United States. I think it's called Move.com now, but it's one of at the time, it was maybe the biggest real estate advertising platform and website in the States at that time.
Yeah, right. So agencies could plug in to do
Correct.
jobs. Right.
Yeah.
Why did it
And
fail, do you
so,
know?
well, why did we fail with it, or why did it fail at all?
Why did it fail at all? Yeah.
I don't know. What we did for it back then was banner ads. Remember those annoying pop-up things that used to happen on the internet that don't really happen anymore? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was their whole thing. So maybe once that went away, I honestly don't know. I'd have to look up the story to see what happened to them afterwards. But what I do know is that we had to recuperate from that. And I know a lot of agencies have that same thing. In fact, we actually just had a girl inside of our program the other day had the exact same thing. She had a client that was, I think, 2/3 of her revenue lead, but because she had proper systems in place, and this is one of the things I tell everybody, a lot of people tend to do this wrong. They'll start up a prospecting engine and then they'll get to a certain point and get a little comfortable and they'll turn off the prospecting engine and turn on a build engine where they're just trying to, okay, let me refine my systems, build my fulfillment, make this better. But they forget how hard it was to get momentum in the prospecting game, to get it to the point where it was consistently bringing in new clients. And so when they lose one or two clients, that really, really hurts them and they have to try and restart the prospecting machine and it's just not consistent. So you can never turn off prospecting. Sales fixes all problems. You lose a client, sales fixes that problem. You're having struggles with fulfillment. Well, that's too bad. Sales fixes that problem because we can get more tries, more swings at the bat. And so what she did, and I'm really proud of her as a student, is that she did not turn off her prospecting. And she was only sad for about a day because the next day her prospecting system brought her in 3 more clients. And now she makes more than she did before that happened. If she hadn't had that stuff in place before, she would be screwed. Might even have to go back to a job and have to quit because of the revenue roller coaster. And we were able to do the same thing after losing that client. Some other lessons along the way is to just always be improving. Market shifts are going to happen. We've existed through 2 major ones being, 3 major ones, honestly, being the PPC upsurge after 2010, really before that, the Facebook ads uptick in cost that happened around 2020, the SEO drop off that's happened more than a few times when we were more heavily into outsourcing some SEO stuff that's happened. And those trends and cycles can cripple people if you're super, super reliant on one individual thing. We've got some previous friends of ours that were heavily into LinkedIn automation and LinkedIn agency, but that was the only thing that they did. And the refinement and restrictions that LinkedIn put in so that you just cannot do volume anymore completely crippled their business. It took them from, a couple 100,000 a month down to practically nothing. And some of them weren't able to fix that. So, a lot of those types of things are common pitfalls that you can run into, right? Be overly reliant and comfortable with one client, be overly reliant and comfortable with one very specific thing that is built around other people's stuff, like that LinkedIn automation. All of that stuff is avoidable by diversifying and by having a better system and foundation kind of in place.
Yeah, I mean, contingency as an overall strategy in any areas of the business, right? I just heard Alex Hormozy had an episode about that on contingencies with, a key players in your business who are like, the movers. And if they disappear, like how would that have an impact on your business, right?
Hiring is a huge one. This is one I didn't even think of. We've gone through dozens of salespeople over the years, right? And if you don't have a plan in place, in our business, I assume, and this is just digital marketing, internet business specifically, most people are in it to learn a certain thing up to a point so that they can go start their own business. That's their dream is almost always, I want to learn this good enough so that I can go do the same thing you're doing or go do what this other person, an internet person that I'm learning from is doing, all that kind of stuff. Now, that being said, we have people that have been with us for 15 years. We have people that have been with us for 8 years. There's people that will stay. And if you treat your people right and pay them well and give them fulfillment, give them purpose, lots of people will stay. A lot of people aren't cut out for being an entrepreneur, dealing with that shit. But you also have to be aware that, if you have a person that is your core thing and they're not, your owner, like an owner of the company with you, they're an employee, you have to be ready for if they move on because it's always a possibility. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's another huge one.
Yeah. So traffic channels, revenue streams, contingencies with staffing, all those things. You also have data contingencies. I don't know how much you can do on that front because high level is kind of can't control that. But yeah.
Well, data contingency too could be, don't rely on your group on Facebook. Like make sure you're getting emails and phone numbers and stuff into high
Oh
levels.
yeah.
Right? Stuff that you don't own. Like, look, TikTok went down. Yeah, it was only for like 2 hours and it seems like it was all a big joke in the US. But had it actually gone down, I know people that's their whole business gone. Wiped out instantly. Right. So
Yeah.
you don't own that stuff. So you need to, that's why, we have multiple YouTube channels, multiple Facebook groups, but also a very large database of emails and phone numbers that we're constantly generating so that if any of those do happen to go down, we have, like you say, contingencies on that all over the place.
Yeah. 100%, mate. Question. Running a used car and detailing business sounds different from your tech and marketing focus. What lessons from those early days still guide you in your current ventures?
I know a lot of people think used car salesmen are sleazy, but I did learn a lot about sales back then by just doing it. Car sales is in person. You're selling old beat down cars to people who don't necessarily have a lot of money or they'd be buying new, especially when I'm doing it from my backyard at first before I sold a few, flipped a few, got the garage, did all that stuff. So, you learn a lot by doing the thing. Like a lot of the things that we did when I first launched my marketing agency too, took away from that. I wasn't just sitting around. I was cold calling to all the businesses. I was knocking on doors. I was handing out flyers, even if they were crap and they were never going to work. It was something I was doing that was an uncomfortable thing that nobody else would do. So it got me business. I mean, the number one thing I learned about sales over the years, and this comes from the used car stuff, it comes from doing here, it learned a lot of this from Rahul too, is the more willing you are to lean into an uncomfortable conversation, the more sales you'll call out that nobody else will. And what that means is we're predisposed to want to take the easy way out. I'm not ready for this today. Let's touch base in a month or two. Oh, okay, cool. Let me schedule that and we'll just hop off the call. Or I'm not ready yet today. Well, let's touch base in a month or two. My life, is going to do this, that, the other thing. Oh, okay. Well, what specifically is going to change? Because maybe we could help you in a different way by being a little flexible right now, right? Leaning into that uncomfortable thing as opposed to taking the early exit. And a lot of shit's uncomfortable when you're face to face looking at a piece of shit beater when every single person's going to ask you for a discount in used car sales because that's just what it is, right? So you learn a lot about that uncomfortable conversation and how to lean in and out of it to make that happen. And over the years, it's grown on that. But yeah, as a foundational piece, I think that helped a lot.
Let's stay on topic of sales. Uncomfortable conversation. What you're talking about is really avoiding having to overcome objections, right? And that could be lack of skills or convenience or whatever. But it is, like you said, it's really important to overcome those. Otherwise, you don't get a sale. But what do you think? What's your point on getting ahead of those objections at the beginning, like triplications?
I know people have different opinions on this all the time, but a couple of different books that I read really well for this. The Way of the Wolf from Jordan Belfort, Straight Line Method, and then Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Both great books, both have great things in it. And why I bring that up is because a couple of different points. Straight Line Method is something I believe in. You just keep the conversation going. If you go too far up one way, down the other way, outside the boundaries, you lose it. And Chris Voss with his labeling and his mirroring and all of these different techniques. And so what I like to do is get in front of certain things like pricing objection by not doing what a lot of people will just bury the price at the very end. They'll wait for them to be like, cool, this all sounds fantastic. What's the price? Right? Whereas now you have to almost do a full new presentation. So you're off the line and you're doing a whole new presentation to get it in. I find if you just tell them a couple of things, right? As in use discovery to find why are you here? Okay, this is exactly the reason I'm here. Awesome. Well, here's a quick solution and here's the price. And now I'm going to jump into the presentation. I put the price in there and then I breeze past it immediately into the presentation. And what that allows me to do, in my mind anyway, is to impose my confidence and build the value of the actual solution and just validate the price now, as opposed to going through all of that, saying the price. And because as soon as the price comes up, that's now all they're thinking about. And now they have questions.
That's why you skip it straight into presentation fast.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Validates it first. Now, then what you're talking about with other objections is this is where the uncomfortable shit happens. Understanding that 9 out of 10 objections or sales objections are smoke screens. They're not real, right? What is it the guy says in Wolf of Wall Street? It's a fugazi. It's a fugazi. It doesn't exist, man. It doesn't exist, right? And so when they're telling you, I got to go talk to my wife about this, or I got a client next week, or let's connect in a couple of months because now it's just not the right time. But I do really love your product. I swear, I love your product. I'm going to be a buyer. It's just not right now. What you have to start learning to hear is through the bullshit filter. And what that means is, what they're really saying is it's easier for me to tell you this than to tell you I think your product is crap or that I don't trust you, because that would be uncomfortable for me. And so I'm not going to say that because I don't want to be uncomfortable. What I'm going to tell you is some bullshit excuse so I can get off the phone. And you have to, as a salesperson, start realizing that, understanding it, and starting to push into it. They say a couple of months or next week or something. Okay, cool. What's actually going to be different about your life then than it is? Or I got to talk to my partner about it. Oh, okay, cool. So I hear you on that. 100%. I understand that. But, what I'm hearing also here is that you probably aren't 100% sold on this, or you probably wouldn't actually need their permission. Am I right that you don't need their permission? You just kind of want to talk it through a little bit, right? And then they'll go back and forth on that. Asking those types of questions is not taking the easy escape route, which is, okay, cool, you go do that and we'll circle back and I'll pat myself on the back for a good job and pretend like I know it's going to close. It's, no, let's dive deeper into whatever this really is to see if I can actually provide you with more trust and authority to solve this problem now so we can move forward.
Yeah. And ultimately, if they don't close right away and they've got these smoke screens, it also comes down to they're not convinced yet that you can help them, right? So what's your take on, like, educational campaigns before the sales to really qualify those leads so you don't have to deal with this?
Yeah, so I like them, right? We do a lot of direct. I think if you have a good offer in place, it really doesn't matter a lot depending on what you're doing. But, a lot of our campaigns are direct to a VSL, like a power offer VSL, where that does some educational pieces. They book a call, they do the sales thing. A lot of the educational stuff, though, like I said, we do a lot of the heavy lifting for that through the evaluate part of the flywheel, which is, okay, here's a YouTube channel, here's a Facebook group. And in any of those, we have what we call keystone content pieces. So masterclasses, free courses. One of the ones we're going to give away to your audience, the Agency Foundations course, right? Just takes you through a few of the masterclasses, some of the foundational pieces, some of the techniques that we and our students are using to make money. And that allows them to get to know, like, and trust you, right? Because a lot of people will buy off of familiarity. And so that's what we do. So to refine your point here, I don't put educational content top of funnel on its own, but what I will do is put content to pull the lever to get them to specific parts of the flywheel. So I know that I've got my flywheel designed in a way where they will flow to the next. So if I think of what you're saying as, okay, how do I get more top of funnel people educated so that they become a beginner? That means group growth or YouTube subscription ads. And we'll create a group growth ad that will drive traffic to a keystone course inside of the group, but also get them in the community so that they'll spend time seeing us and getting familiar with us so that when we do get a direct ad to them, they'll be more likely to buy at that point.
Right. So you get them in community, then you retarget with ads, email, and whatnot. And the communities, you run them through HighLevel, or you still use Facebook?
So we have Facebook group for the GSD and for the agency side, for the real estate rainmaker side, because that's where they were long before GHL rolled out their communities. For our new software company, which is Thinker AI, for that, we actually built our community on GHL, and we've grown it over 1,000 members already. And we only launched that, I think, this last month. So we are using a couple of GHL communities now.
Oh, so you guys partnered up with Mohan?
Yeah. We're partnered with Mohan on that, yeah.
Holy shit. That's what. Oh, very cool.
Mohan was a student of ours, and then they started that up. And so we partnered with them on that, yeah.
That's excellent. And by the way, guys, if you're listening, if you want to learn more about Thinker AI, which is a software that allows you to do both inbound but also outbound, which is not yet released for HighLevel, Voice AI Outbound, check it out. It's an episode 36, I believe. I've interviewed Mohan on that, so check it out. Back to Cody. I want to ask about the ads and how you generate traffic. Can you share an example of a campaign where your expertise in, like, Facebook ads created a massive impact for a client?
Yeah. So what we do specifically is a few different ways. So we use what's called the rapid fire testing methodology to do fast, quick testing. So that's finding best audience, best offer through lead gen. And then what we will do is we will actually help either then go into direct book call campaigns, lead gen campaigns, or SLO campaigns. And SLO stands for self-liquidating offer. So there's an online coach, John Whiting. I've got a testimonial of his up on the thing. I don't know if you guys know who that is. but we were able to actually help him roll through some RFT and then transition that into some of his low ticket offers that scaled into his high ticket offers through an SLO campaign. And we were able to get him from, I think, sub 100 to over 300, somewhere between 3 and 350 a month with that type of a campaign. And, besides the stuff that we do for ourselves and all these other things as well, we've had stuff like utilizing GHL without an ad campaign that got a DBR with voice AI outbound to it as well, that was able to sell a $4 million house all the way through escrow just from sending a blast out and hitting up their list with a database reactivation campaign inside of that.
And then if they reply to the offer, then outbound voice AI.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And that kind of a commission you're talking about, when we teach our students things, it's having that expectations I harped on a lot about before. But if you put what we call the honeymoon phase, which is salespeople sell them a dream, and then eventually we start the ads and they're like, oh, leads come in, and then one of the leads are shit. And there's always a roller coaster of emotions, right? Well, before they launch the ads and after the salesperson sells them, there's this beautiful thing called the honeymoon period. That is where you need to set expectations. But that is also where you can do a database reactivation. And if you do it and it works well, which just got to have a list and you got to know what you're doing, you can usually get an ROI or a presumptive ROI, meaning like people looking at houses, if it's a realtor, they haven't bought yet because there's a longer cycle, but they will. And that allows you to extend the honeymoon period into the ad. So the first couple of leads don't matter anymore. You get your time for testing because they've had success with the DBR already. The ROI is already starting to come through. So just a couple of examples of, both the coaching side and then the real estate side for how that stuff has been successful and how to kind of design these campaigns around testing, presenting, and then scaling up.
I like that. And obviously the DBR is something that you wouldn't disclose up front. It would be more of a over deliver, a bit of a surprise.
Exactly. It's just a part of the journey, gets them there, gets them happy, and creates ROI.
Yeah, I like that. That's really good. Okay, great. And so the key question is, we talked about custom creatives and you guys, pretty successful doing that. Why would you, because one thing is always focus on one thing. When you start to do too many things, kind of spreading yourself too thin. Yeah. Why would you launch GST at all if you already been doing so well?
Couple of points on that, right? Spreading yourself too thin is accurate until you're, we have departments. So we have sales managers, media buyers, we have funnel builders, all that stuff. So delegate, right? I did a post the other day on Facebook that I wish I could remember line for line, but basically it was stop making a to-do list and start making outcome lists. Meaning your to-do list is all shit you need to do. Outcome lists is now you can learn to delegate. I have a certain amount of outcomes I want done. I need to leverage my team members across 4 different companies to go make that happen so that I can focus my time on the revenue generating activities. So it's a little different than when, obviously when you're first starting out, it's just you're a one-man show, then you gotta focus. That's when you can't be the yes man. That's when you got to build that stuff up and be able to kind of progress that way. But other than that, it would be to do the outcome list and not the to-do list. I went on a bit of a rant there. What was the rest of the question?
No, that's all good. Yeah, just on that topic, some smaller businesses, they think they can abdicate, which is totally different to delegation, right? They just think they can hire VA and abdicate this, but that doesn't work, right?
No, it 100% does not. And I think I kind of brushed on that earlier in the sense that, I think people try to hire too fast. That's another mistake. I made this mistake. So another one of these ones that we're talking about being real with you guys. When I first started my agency, kept trying to hire, but it was trying to replicate myself, which you cannot do, right? Because I'm the entrepreneur. I'm wearing 15 different hats. What I eventually learned was I go through a process I call the delegation matrix exercise. And basically you put a square like this, okay? And it's what you love doing, what you hate doing, what you're good at, what you're bad at. And you go through the minutia of every individual task you did for the last week at the end of every month. I still do this to this day, maybe every quarter instead of every month, but I still do it. And then put them into those 4 categories. Anything that's in the I hate doing it and I'm not good at it, that needs to then be hired out. Those are your first hires, because the more you can remove things from that little box and shift up into the I'm good at it and it's helpful and it's something that I want to do, that's where it becomes revenue generating activities. And you get other people who like doing this stuff in those positions, SOP'd out for specific roles. That's how you start to grow a company. You can start to free up your time without, like you said, I love that word, abdicating, because that's what a lot of entrepreneurs are trying to do. They're just, I can't do this. And so I'm going to hire some, frankly, cheap VA that's supposed to come in and save my business because I'm not good at it. I hate doing it. Means I can't train somebody on how to do it. And you got to learn this stuff first. You gotta figure that out and go learn it or find people who can actually do it because these cheap VAs are not going to be the savior of your business. They're just
Yeah.
going
And even if it wasn't a cheap VA, you got to have processes to properly train them so they can. That's the delegation, right? You've got tasks that you want to pass on. You can't just say, "Hey, do it for me." You have to like really train them, right?
SOPs. I mean, every single, all the students inside of any of our programs for the GSD get our actual, multi 7-figure 20 years of SOPs for every individual role, and SOP for laymen out there, standard operating procedure documents that have task lists broken out, actual detailed task lists, and then checklists for what to do, and then Loom overviews for every single role, every single task, all that kind of stuff, so that they can confidently hand it off to competent people.
Yeah. One thing I started to do, which I love, a high level use case on a feature is using, creating a course, starting to use quizzes after each lesson, just a simple, ABC, maybe 3 questions with, multiple choice questions. And then at the end, an issuance of an automated certificate. And I do that for my VS. I create a little course for the podcast, right? For my post-production, started to delegate some of the things. And what I like about that is that you not only, and obviously create all the SOPs, leveraging from Loom AI generates all the things. So it's super easy, but then put them into a course and add in those little quizzes and the certifications. So now I've got not only like, I know that they've done it, but I know they've actually acquired the skill. So I can feel confident about that process. Just wanted to share that if you guys are like listening and you're looking at how can I because first step, just make a simple video. But I am maybe a little bit of a control freak. I want to know like if I'm going to delegate this because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I want to know that they're going to do it like really well. And
It makes sense. The quiz them, we're starting to use that as an internal training platform for ourselves too. So no, I love that idea.
Awesome. Well, there you go. You learned something from me today. I thought I just learned from you. Your agency Accelerator has helped entrepreneurs scale to 7 figures. Can you share like one of the most inspiring success stories from your community?
Oof, hard to pick one. But we've been doing this for 5 years, so there's about hundreds, if not 1,000 of them now. But there's been a few. Like one guy, Alvin Reyes. I love talking about him. When he came to us, he was working a full-time job. And, couldn't really, he's one of those people that didn't want his job to see him posting about stuff. And he had to work kind of around a schedule and do all this stuff. And we get a lot of people that are in that situation. They have to work because they have responsibilities, but they want to launch their kind of dream job. They do that kind of stuff. Just by doing document, don't create content, which is, just all he did was post, started a new profile that was isolated and said stuff like, I'm launching YouTube ads for this niche. I'm doing this for that. Here's the results. Here's what I did. And adding targeted friends, doing what we call the perfect stranger method, right? Every single day and building that prospecting engine and building that prospecting momentum. He was actually able to quit that job and now has, 100,000, maybe $150 a month business. I think was the last time I checked in with him that he's doing on that. And he brought home, more importantly, something that a lot of people won't disclose when they're talking about these kind of things. He brought home like 400K himself from that business, right? That he pocketed, and he has a partner and expenses and all that kind of stuff.
Right. That's profits. Nobody talks about profits.
No. And I'll tell you guys straight up, we have people that want to, some of our first clients, I won't disclose their names, but we helped get them all the way to a certain amount. And then when they left us, they got to 120K. So, but they were at, 60,000 with good margins. And then when they left, they went somewhere else and they got to 100K, but they were spending 120 now to hit that 100K. So they were losing $20,000 a month. But if you looked on Facebook or any of these other places, different numbers and different things being shouted out. So, guys, pay attention to what you want. Some of the things that I tell people is you got to have a solvable problem, right? And some of these top line numbers that people are chasing, you're chasing numbers because you see other people posting them. What you actually want is probably more freedom, a better, more vacations, some of this other stuff.
That's the whole purpose of running a business, of having a business, for it to be a generating vehicle for you to have a lifestyle you want, right?
Yeah. And a lot of people get caught up in that and they don't realize the thing they're building isn't what they were actually after in the first place. But yeah, we have lots of stories like that, quitting jobs like that. We had a mother who had gotten fired. They came to us and she had spent 5 grand on a different course, and she was still at zero. And she came over, and we actually got her to $25,000 months, basically 80% margins within 60 days. I love telling that story because she brought in, I think 10 other people from that program from us that all paid us and all ended up doing super, super well. But, just that might sound like a little amount to some people. Getting up to 25, 30K a month is a huge thing. And she was a
That is a
mother,
huge thing. Yeah.
and she was doing it. And so, I mean, we have all kinds of people that made much more than that. We have a guy that made $1 million in sales in like 60 days, and a whole bunch of 100K a month people. But stories like hers, to me, that and Alvin's, like that's changing their lives around and being able to build what they actually wanted and really going after it and putting it on the line. And so to me, that shit matters more.
Yeah. And look, I mean, what's also important to state is that, having a 6, 7, 8-figure business comes with its own issues, right? So sometimes you might be better off keeping it at 30 a month and have a more of a lifestyle business with a couple of employees, a lot easier to manage. Because like once you grow, then like a whole new set of responsibilities come up, right?
That's what I say. Literally, it's just find your solvable problem. So find what's the number you actually want to get? What do you actually need? Do you want to have an impact? Do you want to have a more freedom? Do you have a place you want to be? Do you want to vacations you want to live? Find what your actual solvable problem is and make that the goal. Because too many people will draw a straight line between more money and more freedom, or more clients means more money and freedom. And those things are not true. You have other problems that have come along, and you really have to decide what you're in it for, because that becomes your North Star.
Yeah, I like that. So if we sum it up for, if somebody's still like, hey, so what is GSD about? Like, what would be like the elevator pitch?
Yeah, so GSD is about getting shit done. Like that's what the GSD in it stands for. So not just about, you get all of our knowledge from the last 20 years, all of our assets like SOPs, funnels, websites, ads, strategies, all this stuff. But more than anything, you get a team of people who are forcing you to take imperfect action, forcing you to lean into the uncomfortable shit that we know is going to make you money if you can just have a support system beside you, making sure you do it every single day, making sure you refine what you're doing every single day so that it gets better and better. The whole reason me and Rahul started this program was not because we needed to, because the other businesses are successful, but it was because we kind of just wanted a community at first to chill with other people and get better at it, because we weren't seeing people give access. We were seeing people sell stuff, and then you get their tertiary support people that probably watched the same damn YouTube video you did. We'll actually enjoy spending time with these people. So we're on 4 of the 7 calls every week ourselves. You get direct access to us so that when shit does go wrong, you can ask us, and we have the actual insight of 20 years of doing this shit to tell you how to correct course and go make it happen. That's what really makes the difference. It allows you to take the imperfect action and get shit done.
I love it. And so it's a membership program. Do you have different membership tiers? How does that work? What's the offer?
Yeah, so the biggest offer right now that we have is to become a partner with us. So we're actually partnering with specific agencies where we will actually do 100% of all of the custom GHL builds that you want to go and sell to your clients. So that would be stuff that you can sell. Our clients selling them anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 and keeping $1,000 a month of that. We're actually helping you guys do those builds and sell those builds so that you don't have to do it. We'll also help you run your ad campaigns, write ad campaigns for your clients, and then get every single individual asset you could possibly need to be able to get out there and make those sales. So customized outreach scripts, organic marketing strategies, Facebook ad campaigns, and everything else. And we've just recently, as I said earlier in the video, partnered up with one of our students to have an outbound voice AI sales team, Thinker AI, that is built specifically that we're customizing to help all of our students be able to use to go out and do outreach, but also to white label and resell to their clients as well for even more high ticket sales. So just kind of end-to-end support to make that kind of stuff happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very, very cool, by the way. I watched the webinar that you guys did a couple of weeks back with Mohan, how he was showing a demonstration. And I think it's better than HighLevel.
That's the goal for that.
For that voice AI. It was a demonstration for voice outbound, and it was about a plumbing or some sort of it was about home efficiency. And Mohan was like saying, yeah, look, I'm looking at creating energy efficiency of my house, and the AI bot was like, I think it was Sarah was her name, good pace, good tone of voice, everything. and she was doing the whole mirroring technique. Like she would, respond back to what he said. So it's really, really cool to hear that demo. So
No, it works really, really well, fully white labeled. And like the really key thing here is, yeah, it does outbound, but it does it well. And it's really simple to set up, put to use, and actually get results. I mean, I set one up last week for one of our ad campaigns that was generating, I think, $120 calls. And we set it up. I set it up in 10 minutes and plugged it in. And now we're booking $40 calls from that same campaign. So having that kind of a thing to be able to attach this stuff is, super, super useful.
Yeah. And also, by the way, it's also available through a marketplace. So once you do have Thinker subscription, I believe that you then set up a custom workflow action and you configure everything inside your HighLevel workflows.
Fully integrated. It's got, the action and triggers that are built right into your workflow. So it works right inside there.
So while we're on this topic, I'm going to pitch a little offer for you guys. This is an offer that me and Mohammed put together when he was on. And so you can basically get access to a free course on how to start your SaaS AI voice company. You can learn how to earn up to $100,000 a month. Full disclosure, depends on your, on your efforts, whatever. Yeah, so you get a whole bunch of stuff, and you can learn more about Thinker. So if you want to learn about Thinker, just go to highlevelexperience.com/Thinker. That's double R at the end. So THINKRR. highlevelexperience.com/Thinker. Cody, which brings me to your offer. We've put together an offer. It's an offer that stands. It's an offer that's been already introduced to you guys. If you are, existing listeners, it's an offer that we've introduced to you when I interviewed Rahul. But let's just run through it again. What's the offer, Cody?
So offer number one is the Keystone course, Agency Foundations. This has some of our best trainings on stuff like organic marketing that our students are using to generate literally hundreds of 100% free sales calls, perfect quality sales calls every single month using nothing but their Facebook profile. It's got a bunch of sales training from our agency, which has now earned over $40 million. And it's going to give you a few additional assets along the way to make sure that you've got stuff like pricing under control, how to create a scary offer like we talked about today. Get out there and absolutely. The second part of it is there's a link to our free community. Our free group has about 13,000 other agencies inside of it, where you can hop in, and we're doing trainings every single week. You're going to get a training from myself and Rahul at least once, sometimes twice a week, along with all kinds of other updates and value that we're dropping from posts every single day. And then finally, if you guys want to check out the GSD program, guys, if you want to be a part of some of the communities as be the beginner step of our flywheel that we talked about today, or even think and talk about being a partner, like I was talking just a second ago about, you can actually click the other link, which is to join our Diamond Club. You can actually do a trial run for $7 on there, and $97 a month afterwards is also, you can take your first step with us, get face-to-face with myself and Rahul, direct access to us twice a week, every single week, and get 3 courses, everything you need on GHL, all the stuff that we dropped to actually help make a couple of different 7-figure GHL products, all of the stuff that we've done for our $40 million agency to be able to set that up, get out there and start making money. So if you want all that stuff, it's right there, those 3 buttons, and we can begin our relationship together if you think it might be worthwhile.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing the info. And guys, so that's what the landing page looks like. You can learn all the information on the page. As you can see here, you get access to the free course, the Agency Foundations. You can learn about the Diamond Club. Is it still called the Diamond Club?
Yep. VIP. We call it a few different things.
And then the free group, right? So guys, so the URL to get to this landing page, to get to the offer, find out more info, is highlevelexperience.com/GSD. So it's S, not the $, it's S. So GSD, highlevelexperience.com/GSD. Right, this brings us to next part of the interview. Now, I've got basically what's going to happen now is I've got a couple of rapid fire questions. You're an avid fan of HighLevel, and it's, this show is all about HighLevel predominantly. And so we've got this segment, a couple of rapid fire segments that I'd like to go through with you now, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So what about HighLevel originally grabbed your attention? Was there something specific or a problem you were trying to solve?
Rahul was literally one of the first, I think, 10 or 20 people in a basement with Robin and Sean, when they first rolled this out. So what brought our attention to it was, hey, do you guys want to check out this thing that we're thinking about launching? So it's maybe a little different than most people. But once we were in there, because we got it and we did all that stuff, but once we were in there, it was the all-in-one part of it. I mean, this is before, think of when we got this. This is all those years ago in that basement, it really had the most stripped down features. It was email, SMS, and it was a review platform and that
And
kind
it
of
was bloody triggers and campaigns. It was a pain in the ass.
triggers and campaign. Hey, I still have stuff to right there. It's not deprecated on, but yeah, triggers, campaigns. There wasn't even funnels or anything back then, right? They haven't even launched that. So I mean, yeah, but it was good. It was a great starting point when we got it, and I've loved seeing how it's progressed and evolved since then.
Is there any new feature, or like what's like a new high level feature that you're most excited about right now, and why?
Like one that's rolling out, or one that I'm excited about that is already there.
That is already there.
But I'm most excited. Well, obviously, I own an AI company now, so it's all the AI, man. This can you think before ChatGPT existed? I feel like ChatGPT just blinked into existence. It changed literally everything for everything everywhere, right? So
Jasper was my secret power.
it's honestly, it's crazy. So yeah, that to me, it's the AI assistant for the workflow. It's the improvements that they've made finally into conversational AI. It's just the unbelievable amount of stuff that you can do now that wasn't even a thought that you could do years ago.
Yeah. Now, what about like a feature that's coming up? The most like you're most excited about?
But the most exciting, I mean, I'm gonna be real with everybody here for a second because I promised all podcast long that I would be. The most excited feature that's coming up that I'm excited for is not a feature that they're dropping. It's their promise that they'll stop dropping new features and improve the ones that are already there. That we're gonna get some refinement this year and to make everything a little bit better. I think that'll be really good.
And we definitely will. I've noticed just yesterday, by the way, inside the CRM, the contacts UI has improved significantly.
All right. Let me give a big shout out to the whole team. I've seen, speed improvements, UI improvements, all that stuff already. And it was really a promise for 2025. And what are we, 21 days into 2025? So they're great job on that. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've got so many features. It's almost like what new feature would like, I can't even think of a new feature.
That's what I mean. I'm excited for them to do. We don't need anything more. Just keep making this shit better so that we're staying on top. That's it.
If you could give one piece of advice to a new high-level user to make their lives easier when adopting or using high level, what would that be?
Go talk to your clients. I think there's so many people right now they just become so shiny object focused and they're just bouncing around from one thing to the other. And every day Sean comes at them and they're like, well, there's a whole new thing I should learn. And they're doing the opposite of what I've been preaching this whole thing, which is they're leaning away from the uncomfortable shit they need to do to make money. Because even if you don't realize it on a conscious level, subconsciously, you're only building that next thing, learning that next thing, trying to make your logo better, trying to finish your website, doing all that shit. Because at some level, what you need to be doing is talking to strangers and putting yourself out there and having conversations. And that's going to be uncomfortable. And so you are pretending like think that logo design you're doing is going to be the next best thing, that feature, learning that feature is going to be the absolute thing that your clients absolutely need to have. And all of those things are truly just you leaning out of the uncomfortable shit. And I want you all who are listening to this right now, whether you ever watch another thing that I'm doing or ever buy anything that I'm selling, I could not care less. The commitment I want you to make is to lean into the uncomfortable shit that you honestly already know you need to be doing every single day to get a better life and to make the money you want to make.
Yeah, it's actually not hard. I mean, I like to call it feedback-driven solutions, right? You're just having a conversation. And if you just have a genuine interest in what they're saying and just being an active listener, they tell you a lot. And then you can just, if I mean, obviously that's where having a really good understanding of all the capabilities of high level comes in. If you know how all those things work, then just by having a good conversation, they tell you like what they're struggling with. You kind of come up with a solution right there and then.
Yeah, and then have, 5 conversations. So we give people a marketing survey, and then we tell them go out and honestly buy people dinner or give them something for free, but just talk to them and get an amalgamation of like a word map. What is it that they want? What's the 1 or 2 features that all these people probably need to solve their problem? And then you get 2 other sources of information. Sales calls that tell you no. I don't know why, but people tend to just throw those away. I don't want to ever hear this again. But sales calls with people that tell you no are the best source of possible information for your marketing messaging, what you should be focusing on, all that stuff. And then onboarding and offboarding surveys. All of that will then help you focus down on 1 or 2 features so that you're not overwhelming. And then you can go make some money by having a focused message, a focused product, and be able to push that forward.
Not to mention that now with AI and with voice recording and transcriptions, you can pass it on to AI to analyze those calls and
Exactly.
tell you what you did wrong and how you could improve it. It's all your oyster. Really incredible. Brings us to our next segment, which is called the beef. Not sure if you've heard of it, but it's basically a segment where we discuss in a constructive way feedback on any high-level feature or a solution, and like what basically you have beef with. What's your biggest challenge or frustration you face with a particular high-level feature recently that you'd like to talk about?
What is a high level feature? Calendars. The calendars
Calendars.
never seem to work correctly. So to be honest, we've stayed on Calendly, even being a high level customer. But that's because even before we were one, we had a million calendar links and all that. But every time
Yeah.
we've ever set up calendar links for anyone, it works, and then sometimes it doesn't. The two-way sync fails, or the automations just aren't quite doing it. For some reason, it just seems to be the most problematic feature in the snapshots and stuff that we've purchased before. So that's beef number one, and it's something I've heard commonly across a lot of different experts that use it. For some reason, the calendar is just I don't know what it is that's a problem with it, but yeah, seems to be an issue. The only other beef I have is I do not understand for the life of me why they would release any type of voice AI that doesn't connect to their own calendars, because it's actually not that hard to do. I know that because I own a voice AI company that connects to their calendars. I'm really confused as to why they did that, and they should probably improve that quickly, because obviously conversational booking is a huge part of what people would need a receptionist, a voice AI receptionist for. Again, I'm sure they're going to roll that out soon. I think they just wanted to push it out for the season of AI thing. But
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I think as well. It was like, yeah, we can definitely do that, but like, why would we wait another 2 weeks to develop that? Well, we can just release it because now it's a big bust. So,
it
and
was
it's
for the
gonna come.
holiday
Yeah,
promotion. Yeah, but still, I think I think that could have just been. But you're
yeah,
asking.
yeah. Because you already have it with the conversation AI. That capability is there. It's just not voice. Yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. But it's a handoff to texting, which is clunky, right? So, but yeah.
Yeah. With the calendars, I just want to come back to calendars. So haven't had like an experience like you had. For me, it's always been working, but I've also, I don't have a huge team, so I never had like many, sales reps on the calendar. So that could be maybe one of the reasons.
Yeah, it's more that, like, again, so we use Calendly. Like, all of our team actually uses Calendly for our stuff, so we don't use it. But for our students and stuff, that's been the feature that they just never seem to be able. It never seems to work. Like, even when we go in and it says it should be like two-way sync, for some reason, it's like it's not blocking off on their calendar, even though the settings all look correct, right? And then we'll fix it, and then it'll for some reason mess up. So yeah, that's just, if I had to pick a feature that I had the most complaints out from all of our students over time, the calendar feature is the one that I think has had the most complaints over time.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, I'll need to maybe look into mine, but yeah, I never had an issue with. I did find that sometimes you need to refresh the integration just to make sure that it pulls in all the other calendars that you have on your calendar. Like the most
Yeah.
common mistake was forgetting to check off some of the remaining calendars that I've got on my Google Calendar for it to be like looking those up
I
against
mean,
like conflicts.
same thing with like Facebook ads and stuff, right? Like, we always tell people to have a Zapier thing set up to also be feeding in the leads because of the same thing, because you have to refresh all the time. For some reason, the Facebook ad, like direct integration, the connections will need to be refreshed. And there was a time where it wouldn't send warnings or anything, so it would just break, right? So you'd have to know to go in and refresh it all the time. Now, they've updated a lot of these things, so maybe calendars and Facebook ad stuff doesn't break anymore. I haven't heard any complaints about the ad side of things, and we don't use the calendars, but
That was literally what I was going to say. Yeah, like when is the last time you've used them, right? Because we're sharing this knowledge with you guys that maybe you knew high level, and we don't want to put you off, right? So it's all just
no,
based on our own
You-
experiences.
right. And again, I love high level, but you asked which ones do I have a beef with, I think, right? So I'm letting you know which ones are there. But
Yeah,
no, with Facebook ads ones, we haven't had an issue with that in a long time. So that was something that used to happen though, so it was a thing. But yeah, with the calendars, again, mostly from students. So
Yeah. Guys, if you are listening, if you've been using high level and you are frustrated with something in particular, we do have a way for you to like interact with like how these episodes are curated. So you have a way to submit your own beef. Right? And the whole idea is simple, right? There is a website called ideas.gohighlevel.com where you can submit any feature suggestions, improvements, and then the 700 or developers of high level, will look it up, and then they got a vote, and it's based on the voting system. So whatever's got more votes from the community is what then is prioritized on their roadmap. But one caveat to that is there is a high level official member Facebook group, and you unfortunately cannot make a post where you say, hey, I've just made a feature suggestion on the ideas board. If anybody agrees, here's a link, help me get more votes. The moment you post anything like that in a community, that post will be taken down. And I believe the reason for that is they trying to manage how many posts there are, because otherwise things get buried. That's the reason I think that's there for. So anyway, so that's why I come up with this opportunity for you guys to share your beef with me. And then we will post it on the episode. We'll just slice in a little video recording of you sharing the beef. The only rule to it is that you have to have first submitted that on the ideas board, right? Because we need that link. So if you understood what I just said, and if this makes sense, just head over to highlevelexperience.com/the beef. And on that page, let me just share my screen as well. I never do this. I should do this more. So I'm just going to have a quick share and check this out. So that's how this works. So you got the beef, you can also look at some of the other ideas that have been shared already. So if you click on that, it takes you to a spreadsheet, and then you get all the links that take you directly to the ideas board, and you can upvote on those that, you think that, makes sense. But otherwise, if you got a beef, you can just submit it. Step 1, ideas board. Step 2, you need to record it, because this is an audio-based format. So you need to record it, just nice and short, and then submit. I've got a little form there. You submit that recording. And when you do, we will slice it into one of the episodes, and anybody else that's listening can learn about your beef. So just wanted to share that. And Cody, thank you for sharing your beefs, by the way.
I appreciate the opportunity.
We have another segment on this podcast called 3 Under 3, where we share like 3 impactful stories in under 3 minutes. And these stories, they highlight how other agency owners, or even yourself, have made a positive impact on clients' lives. Do you have any one quick success story, or an amazing result from using high level for your clients that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, the one that I already shared was the $4 million escrow one that happened recently from a DVR campaign, right?
Yes.
I think that's a huge one. Leveraging GHL specifically to do something like that for your clients before the campaigns even start is always going to be huge. Another one of our students just used the same thing, a DVR campaign, to book, I think he booked 25 roofing appointments off of a list of 450. Other things like leveraging AI and stuff in our ad campaigns has reduced our expenses from $120 a call to down to $40 to $50 a call by having AI callers and AI texting and stuff be able to be integrated into that. All of these things were not something you could even do, 10, 20 years ago when we were doing this. You'd have to have humans, you'd have to have callers, you'd have to have physical assets and multitude of very expensive softwares to even be able to try to replicate a portion of this. And so leveraging this is huge. And I think the biggest part of that is, go through your client's customer journey or the customer journey of their client and see how far along you can use marketing and GHL powers to get them before your client even has to take over. Because the easier you make your potential clients' lives is the bigger problem you're solving for them, is the more money that you can now charge for those things. And that's what we've seen time and time and time again through thousands of agencies that have gone through this.
I love it. Yeah. Charge based on the value you provide, not based on your hourly rate. That's for sure. And I've got another offer for you guys listening as well. So Cody just shared his success stories, multiple different success stories for his clients and also for his own business. But we have an opportunity for you to share yours as well. Now, this, I think I'm talking to more of those of you that are more established and successful high levelers already, and you do like the feeling when you share, these insights with others, because it helps inspire others that are up and comers and newbies in the community. So that's what this is. So if you guys would like to share a story of how you helped a client using, maybe a SaaS client, and how you helped them, and especially what impact it made on their business, then you can submit that through this page. So again, simple. It's an audio format. So, how it works. What's in it for you is that we will feature you in the episode. We will let people know what your name is, what your agency name is, and it just helps others. So you can basically, trying to keep it nice and short. It's an audio file, and just say your agency name, what you've done, and then you can just submit it through this page. The page is highlevelexperience.com/your story. Awesome. All right, moving on. We're also almost at the end, Cody. So is there like one thing you wish you'd known when you started your agency?
I wish I'd have gotten out of my own way a little bit more. It took me a while to start thinking of investing in mentors and start doing coaching and all of that kind of stuff, just because, I went to university and I thought I was smarter than I was, and I was able to get some success for some clients, all that stuff. But I really didn't grow and scale to anywhere near where I am today until I started to buy the fast pass of other people's mistakes, right? Purchase their experiences that, find people who were a few steps ahead of me and where I wanted to be, and just go and lean on that. And I know, I am a coach now, so it's easy for me to say, and it probably sounds like I'm leaning into that, but it is the God's honest truth. I grew exponentially more once I got out of my own ego and out of my own way, and realize that I didn't know what I didn't know, and let other people help and guide me to that point. So the two core things I probably would have done, I like to say all the time too, I would have not gone to university, but even just reflecting through this conversation and talking about how, I put myself through university by starting a business, flipping cars, doing detailing, selling those cars, doing all that stuff, selling that company. So that probably wouldn't have happened if I didn't go to university and I just started a business and kept going that way. So, the journey is part of the destination sometimes. And I think that it's important to remember that. So I think the biggest thing I would have changed is I would have invested in myself and bought other people's fast passes a lot sooner than I ended up doing. And I would have, definitely tried to network harder along the way than I did, because those two things specifically really allowed me to amplify my life.
100%, much more leveraged. And look, everything happens for a reason, right? So tell me something that's true that almost nobody agrees with you on.
Something that's true that almost nobody agrees with me on.
I told you you're going to get tripped up.
This is the first one where I actually did, though. So that's I don't know. Something that I think is true that nobody else agrees with me on. Lead form ads can easily produce ROI positive campaigns for companies.
Yeah. You believe in that?
You believe in that? I do it every single day for all kinds of companies. I think a lot of media buyers, especially because they used to be true that they were pretty bad quality, they are stuck on they're stuck on absolutes. Things either are or they are not. Right. And we always leveraged lead form campaigns specifically for the fast, frictionless testing phase. And we would usually move right into funnels immediately after that. But we slowly started to realize that, these leads that are coming in actually aren't that bad. And if we do certain adjustments, it's actually really good to have the volume and then the filters and then the stuff. So 100%, we do it every day for companies that spend a lot of money on ads, and you can 100% create ROI positive, easy, useful, winning campaigns with nothing but lead form ads nowadays if you do it correctly.
So that's very interesting, because earlier on we talked about, having more conversations, and I would have thought you'd say, messenger, like ads into a messenger conversations, especially with voice AI.
No, we don't really, honestly, no. Our three most common forms of campaigns are lead gen with lead forms, or eventually funnels if needed. Direct to book call campaigns with VSLs, doing a lot of the education, amping up, social proofing, and then SLOs, which is self-liquidating offer funnels.
So into like a lead magnets and whatnot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Very interesting. Okay. Well, mate, we're at the end. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing all your wisdom and sharing like what you guys do behind the scenes at, Custom Creatives and what you do at GSD for all the other agencies. If there was like one final thing you'd like to say for the listeners that, are all the way, that had listened all the way to the end, would there be anything that would you want to leave, like a last piece of message?
Yeah, you probably already know what it is you do. So stop procrastinating, stop watching Sean videos, and instead get out there, take imperfect action, and get shit done.
Take imperfect action and get shit done. I love it. That's going to be, I'm going to make a little stand from that one. Cody, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate that. And, having to interview Rahul and Mohan, it just feels like I've got the full picture of what you guys do. So that's really, really cool. Guys, thank you for listening to today's episode on the High Level Experience as well. If you've enjoyed today's episode, then please share it with your fellow agency mates and other high levelers that you think would also benefit from listening. For show notes, links, and extra tips to help you grow your agency or your SaaS of high level, please go to HighLevelExperience.com. And if you love this podcast, I just have one shameless ask, and that is if you guys could review the podcast, and I'm just going to find a link for you. It's really, really simple. I assume you like the podcast if you're still here, if you're still listening. So the link is, there we go, /review, HighLevelExperience.com /review. That will take you to a page. I might as well share that as well. Here we go. It's going to take you to this page. Pretty straightforward. You got 3 options. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or on Podchaser. Podchaser is like a massive database of podcasts and guests and whatnot. So, I mean, if you do all 3, I'll be forever grateful. But even if you just do Apple Podcast or Spotify, it would mean a lot to me. So if you do that, thank you so much. Now, once again, thank you guys, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.